So, part writing examples with root position triads, first inversion triads, and second inversion triads. We're both going to be filling in inner voices, realizing a figured bass and adding soprano, alto, tenor, or soprano, alto, and then coming up with an unfigured bass and coming up with a Roman numeral analysis. So we have a bunch of different tasks before us. All of these are important skills that you should be able to have. So we're going to start right here. This one we're asking for an alto and tenor voice to fill in. Here's your Roman numeral analysis. Simply looking at the 5-6-4 chord. We only have three different kinds: passing, neighbor, cadential. Because we have the scale D, E, F in the bass, this is a passing 6-4. To go through the steps, we have two Ds here. We know that in a root position triad, we want to double the bass, so we need D, D, F, A in the chord. We have a D, we have another D, we need F, we need A. I would never put the F down here, especially since the bass line goes up. It's going to get cramped. The chances of overlapping are too high. I probably wouldn't put the F all the way up here as well. That's towards the upper range of the tenor. I like to make it comfortable and have room above and below. So I'll put the A in the tenor and the F in the alto. Once I do that, that's an option. I could do something different and have it be correct. I could put the F down here, I could put the A up there. But once I do this, there are no options when I go to this 5-6-4 chord, because I can only move by step or common tone. There is no other option. So the common tone, the 5-6-4, is the notes are A, C sharp, E. It's a 6-4 chord, so we double the E. Those are the notes I need. I've got an E here. I've got a C sharp. It means I need an A and another E. Well, there's an A right here, so there's my common tone. This F can move by step to the E. So I therefore complete my chord without breaking any of the voice leading rules I just mentioned. 1-6, the notes are D, F, A. The doubling for a first inversion triad is anything except the leading tone. Since D, F, A, none of those are leading tones, I can double any one of those. I have an F, I have a D, but I can't make any leaps. So this A, I'm going to have to keep it in A, because I can't leap to an F and I can't leap to a D. Here, I can either go down by step to a D or up by step to an F. But I'm not going to go up by step to an F, because then E, E, F, F, that would be parallel octaves. So I go to the D. I now get to move on to my 4 chord, which is G, B flat, D. It's root position, so I double the G. Looking at my example, I have the G, I have a B flat, it means I need another G and a D. Another G and a D. Well, my option is to jump to a G or maintain it as a common tone. Common tone is your friend. If you have an option, do it. Now, do you have the option? If you went to the G and had the D here, what would happen in the very next chord? Well, the tenor is a G here, and the bass is an A above that note. So that would be overlapping. So as much as I love common tones, I'm going to leap here to the G and leap here to the D, so that down the road I don't create an overlapping issue. So voice leading is your first choice. You always want to have smooth voice leading, but sometimes you need to make jumps. 1, to not break other part writing rules, and 2, leaps are often interesting. So you want to do it for musical reasons as well. So I do that, and I double check. I say, okay, well, do I got, when I have leaps, I'm always worried about parallel octaves, and that's where trouble starts. But when I do check, there's nothing wrong with this. Okay? I get to the 5 chord, A, C sharp, E, it's root position, so I need two A's. I've got the two A's already. I need E and C sharp. G, D, that's a fifth. I'm always careful when I see a fifth. I don't want to move it in the same direction, so I'm not going to move it up to the E. I'm going to move it down to the C, and I'm not going to forget to add the C sharp, raising the leading tone. That needs to be written in. Then this will go down a third to the E. And then that is my completed example. Let's hear what that sounds like. So we have and you can hear that sounds perfectly fine. Sounds great. Let's move on to our next example. This is an E flat major. We just need to add an alto voice in this example. So, a sixth chord is C, E flat, G. I have two C's. I only need one. I only get one more note. So this is going to be an incomplete chord. When deciding which one do I have, do I include the third or the fifth? The answer is always the third. Without the third, you can't tell if it's major or minor. The fifth is so consonant, it's implied. So I need to put an E flat in my alto voice. So I do so right there. I then go to a four chord, which is A flat, C, E flat. I have the A flat, I have the C, I need the E flat. How convenient, it's a common tone. I then need a 1-6-4 chord. One chord is E flat, G, B flat. Because it's in second inversion, I double the B flat. I have the two B flats already. I need an E flat and a G. Well, what am I going to do here for this example? Because you don't have a, this is tricky, right? You have two fifths, and you have to choose between the root and the third, both of which are critical notes. And looking forward to this chord, if you choose the G, you're going to go from third of this chord with no root to fifth of this chord, no third. If you choose the E flat, you're going from root of this chord to third. Well, if my choices are third to 5, and I'm losing no root to no third, or root 1 to 3, and here I get no third, and here I get no fifth. Well, no fifth is never a problem. So that's good. And having no root is also a problem. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with the E flat here, moving to the D. And then we get to our 6 chord C, E flat, G, like we've already said. We have a C, we have a G. Look at that. E flat. See how smooth the voice leading is there? Alto singers should have no problem with their part. Let's hear what that sounds like. So yeah, it's pretty open without any thirds in there. But that is our best option for a 3-voice. And sometimes you don't have 4-voice chorus, you just have 3. But you can still imply these harmonies. I'm going to answer for you the question of why there's this bracket under the 1, 6, 4, 5 with just a 5. This 164 is a cadential 6/4. It occurs on a strong beat, beat 3. It goes right to 5. That would be cadential. The 164 in that context doesn't sound like home bass I'm at a 1 chord. It sounds like an embellishment of 5. So it is not uncommon that music theoreticians analyze 164 and 5 as one large 5 chord with some embellishment. So that's trying to really say that, okay, this 164 chord, it's not really functioning like tonic harmony, it's functioning like a dominant. It has that sound. Let's move forward. Here, step 1, we need to realize the figured bass. First bass note is an F sharp, last one is an F sharp. I've got sharps. I'm not going to choose A major, I'm going to choose F sharp minor, the relative minor. So I write a lowercase f sharp, colon, underneath the key signature. That is part of your Roman numeral analysis. It cannot be left out. After that, F sharp with nothing, that's a 1 chord. The A sharp means that is a first inversion triad. A sharp, that means go down a third, that's my root. That would be a C sharp as my root, that's a 5 chord. And first inversion, and I recopy the figured bass into the Roman numeral analysis. Why don't I just put the 5 here and be done with it? Well, because in Roman numeral analysis, when you get here, you would never write a 5 chord with a 5 and a sharp next to it. It doesn't translate. Those get left out. So it works for first inversion triads. It works for second inversion triads. It doesn't work for alterations of root position chords. So you always recopy the figured bass. We go back to a 1 chord. We then have a D in the bass. First inversion, that means go down a third. B is our root. B is a 4 chord, so this is a 4/6. We then have a C sharp here, and it's indicating second inversion, so C sharp, down to A, down to F sharp. F sharp is our root. That means it's a 1/6/4 chord. Here, the 5 means there's a 5th above the bass. The C sharp, the sharp means the 3rd above the bass is raised. That's referring to the leading tone. So this is a 5 chord in root position, going to a 1 chord in root position. So this is the correct Roman numeral analysis. Now, the next step is adding the soprano, alto, and tenor voices. This is where things get tricky. Like, the more options you have, the more places you can make a mistake. What do you choose? The most important question is, what do you choose for your soprano melody note? And what I do is I say, well, my choices are F sharp, A, or C sharp. I could start on the F sharp, which would be a very consonant place, because it would be the same as the bass. I mean, it would be very restful. I could start on the A, which would be a nice sweet harmony, because the 3rd is the sweetest of those options. Or I could start on the C sharp, which would give it a kind of like strong, sturdy strength. I notice that the bass starts here and descends, so I don't mind having my tenor like at an A here, a 3rd away, because I know that the bass is going to drop away and make room. Giving a C sharp here in the tenor would give me a little bit more room to work with. I often like to have my melody go in contrary motion with my bass, so I wouldn't want to start my soprano up really high. I like to have it start kind of low and go up as the bass goes down. With all those considerations, I think I need some sweet harmony right here. So I'm going to put that there, which means I can put the C sharp here and the F sharp here. Right. Complete my chord. That is one option. There are many other correct options. And whatever you choose as you're starting, will completely affect what comes afterwards. In these examples where you were given the soprano and the bass, there's far less options. This one will look radically different from person to person. But let's start with this and move forward. So I then get to a 5/6 chord. The notes in the 5 chord are my C sharp, E sharp, G sharp. I know that I can double anything except this one. I'm not going to double the E sharp. Now, the bass went down. Maybe I'll try to jump up a little bit to the C sharp. If I do that, I've got one C sharp. I'll definitely need a G sharp. This one, the F sharp can move by step to G sharp, so let me do that. And this could just stay as a common tone. So that seems pretty easy. Again, I'm always prepared to say, well, the next chord I write might make me want to backtrack one and revise. So I'm not afraid to do that. Then here, we go to a 1 chord. So I'm back to F sharp, A, C sharp. Now here, I can't maintain both C sharps because I can only maintain one of them. So the question is, do I want to go back to this exact voicing I had before? Which I could, but that seems a little bit boring. So what if instead I kept the C sharp up here, moved this C sharp down to an A, and this G sharp to an F sharp, therefore giving me my F sharp, A, C sharp. And now I have some variety. I start with a leap in contrary motion, and then I keep it there so I have variety in my voicing. Let's go with that. 4 chord is B, D, F sharp. It's in first inversion, so I can double anything except the leading tone. None of those notes are the leading tone. I can do whatever I want. So I'm not going to predetermine what it is. I'm going to look at my voice leading. I've got a D, so 1 D is taken care of. That means I then move on. I need a B, and I need a D, B and an F sharp. Well, I had a little leap. The third is not really considered a leap in all contexts. But if I were to fill in that space, I could fill it in with that B. So it kind of jumps up to the C sharp, stays there, then jumps down. So maybe I want to put the B there. That means I need an F sharp. Well, I can maintain that as a common tone. That's easy. And if I take this A and move it up by step, I can double the B. And doubling the soprano with one of the inner voices sounds really good. That's not a rule. I don't have to do it, but it works and it's really common. So notice that I got to double the soprano and the tenor here, and then I got to do it again. And what's nice is I got A, C sharp, I got this contrary motion in this between the soprano and the tenor to do that. So that works really well for me. Now I get my 1/6/4 chord. 1/6/4 chord is going to be F sharp, A, C sharp, and I must double the C sharp. So I got a C sharp down here, and I have to get a C sharp somewhere. I don't want to leap, so I have 2 B's, so one of these B's is going to go to the C sharp. The other B is going to go to an A. This is going down, so I can move this up to a C sharp, I can move this up to a C sharp, I can move this to an A, I can move this to the A, and the other note has to be an F sharp. So that's obvious that my alto will stay F sharp. And then the question is, do I want to go A, C sharp, or A, C sharp? Well, although I usually only want one focal point, if I go to the C sharp, I definitely have like 3 focal points. So let's try not to make it that many. And if I were to change this into a half note, I could argue it's only 1 focal point, right? So for the contour of my melody, I'm going to put this as an A and this to the C sharp. Then I'm back to a 5 chord, C sharp, E sharp, G sharp. This time it's in root position, so I know I have to double the C sharp. I have no option. C sharp's right here in the tenor, so I just keep it as a common tone. These two voices always move down by step. That's what happens in a 1-6-4 to 5 chord. Always. So the A moves down by step to G sharp. The F sharp moves down by step to E sharp. I then get to a 1 chord, F sharp, A, C sharp. I have my F sharp here. I'd like to resolve this, so I'm going to move it to an F sharp in the soprano to give it a nice sense of resolution. Since this is E sharp is an inner voice, I'm going to choose to drop it to the C sharp to complete the chord. I'm going to move this C sharp to an A. So that's my third. Root, root, third, fifth. I could do a tripled root and a third, where I move this alto line to the F sharp, but I'm just a complete chord kind of guy. So I'm going to go for that. Let's take a listen to this and hear what that sounds like. So here, a masterpiece. Perfect voice leading. And as I'm going through this thought process, this is the thought process you should be having, the inner dialogue as you're trying to solve these examples and do this kind of work. Let's move on to our next example. Here, we see 4 sharps. First bass note is an E, second is an E. There's no sharps, raised notes, so this is going to be in E major, not in C sharp minor. So I indicate that with a capital E and a colon. I then need to complete my Roman numeral analysis. E in the bass, 1 chord, E with a 6-4, that's going to be 4, 6, 4. The 5-3s here, just to tell you that we're going right back to this root position 1 chord, but I don't need to copy that 5-3 into my Roman numeral analysis. That is unneeded, unnecessary, don't put it. We then have an A, which is a 4 chord, going to B, which is a 5 chord, and then here we're going to a G sharp in the bass with a 6 under it. So if G sharp is the 3rd, I go down a 3rd from there to the root of the chord, which would be an E. E is a 1 chord, so this is a 1 chord in first inversion. Going up to a 2 chord in first inversion, to a 5 chord, to a 1 chord. And I've now completed the Roman numeral analysis. I ask myself all the same questions. However, this time I only need to worry about the soprano and alto. No tenor voice. So, notice always I have the step-by-step procedure. Here's my 1 chord. I need the notes E, G sharp, B. I always want to know what I'm going for. Well, I've got the E already. That's in the bass. I need a G sharp, I need a B. And I'm only using soprano and alto. So, do I put the G sharp down here and the B here? That B would be below the normal soprano range. So that's not going to work at all. And I can't put it up here because that would be more than an octave. So I'm not putting any G sharps down here. I could put a B in the alto and a G sharp here. And since the bass moves down, that allows the soprano to go up. So that seems like a really good choice. G sharp in the soprano, B in the alto. The 1-6-4 always has motion that goes like this, up by step, down by step. So the 4-6-4 chord, A, C sharp, let me write that correctly, C sharp, E. I have the E. I would like an A. This G sharp can step up to an A. I would like a C sharp. This B steps up to the C sharp. And then I always step back. So it's always voices step up, voices step back. So I don't even need to really go through all my process if I'm running short on time. I can just write it in because I know the way the voices move. Then I go to my 4 chord, which in root position, A, C sharp. I got my A. I could use a C sharp, I could use an E. Well, there's going to be something involved here. I could, again, and I can also leave out the 3rd and double the root, so that's another option. So my option is this or this. So with 3 voices, that is something to always keep in mind. Given how static this has been, I would love my soprano to do something interesting. Interesting would not be going back to an A. Interesting would not be jumping down to an E, because that would actually be direct fifths, parallel, similar motion in outer voices, with a leap in the soprano resulting in a perfect fifth. So I don't want to go here, don't really want to go here. Well, that leaves me C sharp. And since this is jumping down, I can jump up and then I get this nice contrary motion. So you know my love of contrary motion. Let's go for it. Which means I now have the choice of what do I do with my next voice? Well, I'm not going to double the A and do the incomplete chord, because then I have more than an octave here. I'm going to jump this up as well. But whenever I make jumps, B, G sharp, okay. This is a 6, so this is also a 6. Parallel 6s, those are fine. We had our E here, and our B here becomes the A here, and E here. This is a problem. That is fifth by contrary motion. So in my first instinct to do something like that actually doesn't work when I double check my example, my voice leading. Again, why did I check there? I check whenever there's a possibility of a fifth or an octave and how it moves to the next. I don't need to check everything. But when I do encounter fifths and octaves, I want to double check those, because those are where the trouble. And when leaps, that's why I say common tones are great. I love contrary motion. I also like leaps to create interest. But whenever I do leaps, I have to double check for those types of things. So E, B, A, E, this is a problem. So I'm gonna rethink this. I'm gonna say, okay, that doesn't work. So maybe I don't get to go as exciting as I want right now. Maybe I just move this back to the A, and I just jump this. Oh no, that's the same problem, right? So this B can't go to an E. That's the component I need to remember. So if this B goes to the C sharp, and this soprano jumps down to the E, we knew we couldn't do that. This sounds like a perfect place for an incomplete chord, right? I love complete chords, but it's just becoming so problematic to avoid direct fifths or a fifth by contrary motion. So I'm just going to keep that ba-da-da-da, and I'm going to look to try to create my interest elsewhere. I get to a root position triad that in bass moves up by step to another root position triad. Whenever I have that, wherever the bass moves up by step, I want to move the other voices down by step. So I need B, D sharp, F sharp. Well, that would be, this goes down to the, this would go down to the B, this would go down to the F sharp, but that would give me a chord without all the right notes. So this C sharp can move up to D sharp, but this A can jump down to the F sharp. And that works out just fine, because here is an octave that moves to a fifth, here's a third that moves to a third. So even though I have that parallel motion, it's parallel thirds, which are fine. We go to the 1 chord, which is E, G sharp, B. I have the G sharp down here. I need, therefore, the E and the B. This D can move by step to the E. That certainly would be nice. and then this F sharp could jump to the B. Well, I got to jump. That means B to F sharp going to G sharp to B. Well, that's a fifth going to a third. That's not a problem. We're in business. We can have our leap there. I then go to a 2/6 chord, which the notes are F sharp, A, C sharp. We have the A. I need the F sharp, and I need the C sharp. Now, the smoothest of voice leading would be for me to go F sharp here, C sharp here. But that would create parallel fifths, and that is unacceptable. So knowing that, I might need to do something a little bit unusual. I might go, and again, first inversion, we usually try to have a complete chord. But we just might not be able to here. We might need to say, okay, we had a leap here, because a fourth is definitely a leap. We want to step back to an A, and then we would definitely need a root in our chord. So I think for voice leading purposes, you could certainly make the case that that's what you should do right there. We then go to a 5 chord, which we know is B, D sharp, F sharp. We have our B, we need a D sharp, we need an F sharp. This A can't go to the D sharp, because that would be an augmented, that would be a tritone interval. So if that goes to the F sharp, that means this alto voice should go to the D sharp. We then want to resolve. Let's have a complete chord and go like so. See what it sounds like. That is not correct what I played. My apologies, let me redo that. We're going to go. And that works. That'll work for us. Yes, you could put this down to a, you could try to figure out what to do to create a more stable. This is not a perfect authentic cadence. We'll talk about cadences shortly. But this totally works. Good. This last example is harder yet again, because now you just have a bass line and you're not told which triads are in root position, which are in first inversion, which are in second inversion. It doesn't even tell you what key it's in. So I look, the first note is a D, the last note is a D, the chord before it is AD. Well, AD looks like 5-1 to me. Since my options are either F major or D minor, this is definitely in D minor. So that's step one. If you remember the steps that we talked about before, you always want to make the first chord a 1 chord. Can I do that? Yes. The last chord a 1 chord. Can I do that? Yes. The chord before that, a 5 chord. Can I do that? Yes. So you do that right off the bat. You then look and say, well, what are my options for all the other chords? And you can go in and really step by step write in all the options. So you can say, well, if this is the root, it would be a 2 diminished chord. But we never have 2 in root position. So we take that off right away. It could be a 7 diminished 6. Okay. It could be a 5-6-4. Okay. So 7 diminished 6 or 5-6-4. This F could be make it to be the root of the chord, so it could be a 3 chord. 7 doesn't go to 3, 5-6-4 doesn't go to 3. We cut that off. We eliminate it right off that. It could be a 1-6 chord, and these chords could go to a 1-6, or it could be the fifth, which would be a 6-6-4. 3 and 6 are almost always in root position. We're rarely putting 3 or 6 into anything other than root position. So 1/6 is definitely the best option. And given that, and given this, and given that we're talking about second inversion triads, let's go with the second inversion triad. No 7 diminished 6, 5, 6, 4. This is a perfect place for our passing 6, 4. We then have this. It could be the root of a 4 chord. That's possible. It could be 2 diminished 6. And if it's the 5th of a chord, it would be a subtonic 7 chord in second inversion. Bad choice. We haven't talked about that. That's very unusual. So we have 2 choices here. I don't know what we're going to do yet. Let's move forward. This A could be the root of a 5 chord. It could be I have an F here, which as our root, which would be a 3 chord, 3 in first inversion, but I just told you that's uncommon. It could be a 1/6/4 chord. 1/6/4 is something we've talked about. 1/6/4 chords are usually used, well, how does the bass move? Well, it doesn't follow, it's not a scale. This is not a scale. It's not a common tone, and nor is it repeat and then go down a fifth. So that's a bad choice. So this will be 5. Either 4 or 2 diminished 6 are both good options. So either one is totally fine. This looks like a 1 chord, so I'm just going to do that. I'll make my life hard. So the only real decision here is, do I want to go with 4 or 2 diminished 6? Me, I love variety. Diminished sonority, let's go for it. 2 diminished 6. Then you have to go through the process that we've done before, and like we did here, which is how do you determine your soprano line, then filling in, if it's 4 voice, alto, and tenor parts. But we've already gone through that procedure, so we don't need to go over that again. So what we've done right now is really gone over the thought process, the step-by-step procedures that you would use to fill in inner voices, whether it's 2 inner voices or just 1. The step-by-step process you would use if you had to realize a figured bass and then come up with 3 upper voices or just 2. And then finally, how you would come up with a Roman numeral analysis for an unfigured bass, and the step-by-step procedures and questions you would ask yourself for that. Thank you very much.